We're back with another Phanteks case, one of my favorite case brands, and I can't wait to get this out of the box, so let's roll that intro. Welcome, Simple Rudd. What I've got for you today is the Phanteks Shift XT. Now, I've built in the Shift X before. I didn't get just the regular Shift or the Shift 2 or the Shift Air, or any of those. I got the X, the tall tower. So this one is going to be interesting. Now, I'm excited to see how they managed, to improve on the Shift legacy, I should say. Now, this one is quite a bit different because the Shift and the Shift X are standing towers, whereas this is just an SFF case. Now when you open it, the first thing you're going to see is your accessory kit. Now in this accessory kit, you've got a quick little instruction on how to switch out and transform the case, along with a very good instruction, very detailed, some great pictures and some great instructions. I really love Phanteks' attention to detail in everything they do. Now the other things in this are your risers, so you have 3 heights, right? You have the stock height that it comes in, and then you've got your medium height for fans and your tallest height for a radiator. We'll get more into that when I get this out of the box. So let's get this out of the box. Now before I unwrap it, I do want to just say that, their shipping is quite amazing and quite protective too. They kind of just take that next level. It may not always be necessary, but it is nice to have. Now what you notice right away is that they didn't just put this in, the plastic wrap. It is very much in a nice bag that's very protective. Now what you'll see is I went with silver. Normally I don't. Normally I go with black on everything, except for when I went with the Snow White case. Now what you'll see is a nice quality aluminum plating around this. Well, aluminum sheet, I should say. It's not quite plating. And everywhere you look is very silver. So now, let's figure out how to get this off. Can I do it without the work instructions? Probably not. So this is held on with magnets, right? Now what you'll see behind that is this a little, I would call it an illusion panel, right? Because when you get it taller, it gives you that little infinity mirror lighting, kind of like what Phanteks does on their AIOs. Now, this at its smallest is just over 13 liters. The next size up will be just over 15, and the tallest will be just over 17, which is just enough to still call it SFF. Now the bottom does slide up or down. I'm not quite sure how that one comes off. Now what you'll see underneath is you've got an RGB button, a power button. Then you have your USB 3 and your USB-C, but I do not see an audio jack, which is kind of disappointing. I enjoy having the audio jack. Now another thing you'll see in the front are these little locks here. I should be able to pull them forward. Get this side forward as well. And that should loosen this up to come forward and out, revealing the rest of the case. Now, on top, you'll see mounting 4 fans. Now this is mainly with 120mm fans in mind, or a 240 rad. So, in the middle size, you can fit 140s. But I don't know how useful it's going to be. As you can see, quite a bit of the airflow would still be restricted. So at the smallest, you cannot put anything up here, right? Which is well, it's kind of disappointing, but I mean, it's going to come down to really how much performance you want out of this case. Now, mind you, this is PCI Gen 4, and this was a $180 case. So, I don't know that you would want to spend $180 on a case and not go for the little extra to get the performance out of it. Now, I know that 180, you're getting the quality, which this is very nice, but you're also getting the transforming case and the Gen 4 riser. Now, risers are expensive, and that's probably half the cost of this case. Now, before I move forward, let me get my iFixit so I can start removing screws and showing you a little more on what this case can do. So now, once you remove these two screws from the back, that allows this panel to swing forward, which, oh, and it just slides right off. So that's handy, right? Now that allows you to add your AIO or your fans, and it also allows you more room for building. So now I need to figure out how to get this bottom off. No, before that, you do have these side sliders, right? Now this is mesh, which everyone's been using quite often for your front panels, and you know, I guess in your side panels in some cases too. But what it is, you know, it kind of filters it, but really it just allows more airflow without the need of extra filters. Now at the top you see there's no filters and there's no mesh, but if you're exhausting, then it's not going to matter. Whereas your sides, you're probably going to intake. Now as this gets higher, you still have, you know, that there for your intake as well. Or you can remove them and run it open to really show your internals a bit. So there is a thumb screw on the back. Now once that's removed, slides forward and it releases. Now before I get too far, don't forget to subscribe. I did the Lee & Lee A4 previously. Next I'm going to be comparing the two and, you know, kind of giving you that insight as to what makes them different and maybe helping you choose if you're having troubles choosing between them. Plus I've still got my personal build that you guys haven't seen yet, and more coolers and plenty of content. So don't forget to subscribe, check it out. Now let's get back to this. Now on the inside you'll see these little plastic guys, right? And in the lowest mode that you see it in right now, that is for your compact mode, right? And then you move it up one more, so your center's up here, and that'll put it in your air mode. Now your air mode is where this sits up higher, and it allows you to actually put 120 millimeter fans or 140 up to 30 millimeters thick. So yes, you can fit two T30s on top of this bad boy if that's what you wanted. Now the next step, which would be this guy all the way up, that's your AIO mode. Now that puts it in its largest, which is 17.4 liters, but it gives you 60 millimeters of height for putting an AIO in here, a 240 AIO only. I don't think you can do 280. You can try it, but I'm not going to guarantee it'll fit because I don't think it will. Now that being said, you could go with something like EK's 240 AIO, and then you can remove those fans and put T30s on there. Sadly, they were just shy of allowing you to put the 240 T30 that Phanteks makes. Now if that could have been put in here, that would have been huge, right? Because that is a lot of liquid cooling for, you know, a very little radiator-ish. You know, it's only a 240, but it is 38 millimeters thick, which is rather thick for AIOs. Now you see some like Arctic goes with the 238 or with the 38 240s and 280s and such, but most of them like EK go with the much smaller 28 or 30 millimeter thick radiators, which they then follow up with, you know, your 25 millimeter thick fans. So is where like the A4 H20, that allows you 55 millimeters on top. This gives you 60, so you can start cramming those T30s on your radiators. Now I've kind of got a mess, so let's move this to the side and give you give you a little walkthrough of what's offered on the inside. Now, what I do like is you do have room. You know, room is very nice. Now you've got your riser cable that will attach to your motherboard. It is a sandwich layout, which allows you up to 324 millimeters triple slot graphics card, right? So you're fitting 3090s in here if you want. You do see a little bit of pass-through cooling. So if you've got NVIDIA's 30 series graphics card, this allows for their fun pass-through cooling. Now, your power supply will be right here. So you do get the option of having your fan blow out or in. Personally, I'd probably have your fan pulling from the outside, shooting down. That way your power supply is not pulling in hot air. And it also gives you the opportunity to run your cables back behind it and hide it. Now, as you can see, you're gonna have a decent amount of room because, you know, your SFF power supply is not gonna take up a whole lot of room in here. You do have what's already mounted for a 2.5. You've got room for cables and such underneath it. Of course, you've got your power cable that's going to need to hook up to your power supply here, which then runs to the back to where you would have, you know, the power on the back, which would then run to your outlet, of course. Now, this is set up to where your motherboard will be upside down. So, you know, orientation wise, you're looking at, you know, probably left orientation. Granted, if you wanted to look at your graphics card, you could put it the other way as well. So I will say this is rather, I mean, there's not a whole lot of flex. This is a very quality case, and it's nice to see too. Phanteks does a really good job of that. Even in, you know, their less expensive cases, you still get that Phanteks quality. Now, I'm sure there's more I can run through this, and eventually I will be doing a build in this and doing a walkthrough of that actual build experience. But for right now, I think I've covered most of your options of what you're going to see with this case. Now, feel free to comment down below with questions or, you know, concerns or feedback on the video even. You know, don't forget to subscribe and, you know, hit like if you liked it. I'm really working on expanding and giving you more content as I bring in more projects. And I think that's all for this, so I want to say thank you.